Greetings, folks, and welcome to today's show. We have as our guest today Dr. Dan Lawson, who you know very well as the Director of Schools in Tullahoma. And we want to talk about a couple of things going on with him. And I think those are going to be not only of interest in Tullahoma, but to all of the viewers out there in the surrounding area. Education is kind of a hot topic for all of us. So, welcome, Dr. Lawson.
Always good to be here. I appreciate the invitation and I hope provide some information that's of valuable to our community.
Okay. So we want to talk primarily today about your, you've kind of stirred the pot a little bit on the relationship between the school directors and the state board of the state education commissioner and the governor. So we want to talk a little bit about that. And also you have rolled out the start of your electronic teaching routine with the installation of some 300 Chromebooks?
Started with a little more than 300 Chromebooks at East Lincoln, yes sir.
Right, so that's fascinating, and we'll talk some about that. Well, for starters, just give us the bottom line. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks since you started, but fall break has been a piece of that too.
We just came off a 2-week fall break, and prior to that 2-week fall break, we started training both our students and our teachers in the use of the Chromebooks. And I think after you break, we'll have some pretty exciting news about where we are today and where we hope to go with that program.
Huh. You got the students to come back during the break?
No, sir. No, sir. It was done at school before the break.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, let's take a short commercial break, folks, and we'll get into things.
The highest standard of trust offers a sense of safety and comfort. It's established over time. You know when you see it. You know when you feel it. There's a standard of trust in healthcare. It's the Joint Commission Gold Seal of Approval. In 2003, Life Care Center of Tullahoma voluntarily achieved this accreditation and maintains it still today. Life Care, meeting a higher standard because residents matter most.
Welcome to Merle Norman, located inside Northgate Mall in Tullahoma. Since 1931, Merle Norman Cosmetics have been researched, developed, manufactured, and packaged in the USA, using the highest quality ingredients and unmatched customer service to help women look and feel better about themselves.
Hi there, I'm Christy Almacher, owner of Merle Norman. I want to talk to you a little bit today about Merle Norman products. We have a large line of skincare and cosmetics for all skin types. Merle Norman's motto is try before you buy, so we'd love for you to come in, talk to us about your concerns, try the products, and we want you to feel good when you leave here, so we hope to see you soon.
Want to feel good in your skin? Visit Merle Norman in Northgate Mall, Tullahoma.
Let the Smokehouse be your mountain getaway destination in beautiful Monteagle, Tennessee. Enjoy our cabins, restaurant, and old general store. Shop thesmokehouse.com featuring homemade barbecue sauces, jellies, and many other fine Tennessee products. Our live Music on the Mountain series features some of the best local and Nashville talent every Friday and Saturday night, 6:30 p.m. No cover, kids welcome.
Our guest today, folks, is Dr. Dan Lawson, Director of Tullahoma Schools. And we want to talk about a couple of things that are going on. One is that Dr. Lawson penned and had almost half of all the directors in the state sign a letter to the governor saying, you know, we've got some issues with the education commissioner that we'd like to see addressed. And so that was a pretty bodacious operation, and the governor, I think, wasn't particularly happy to see it, although he did indicate that maybe there was some things there that could be improved. So talk to the folks a little bit about that. What was the reason behind that?
Right.
What's your rationale?
Yeah, let me share the rationale. There are 137 school districts in this state, And they range in size from Shelby County Schools now that has nearly 140,000 students, right down to Richard City that has just 600-700 students. Each of those school systems is governed by a Board of Education, and that Board of Education is popularly elected and makes decisions as to what's best to implement in their community for the governance of that school system. There have been a number of decisions that have been made recently on the part of the State Board of Education, on the part of the Department of Education, that has a net impact of removing some of that authority from our local boards of education. And let me cite two of those specific examples. A charter school may be established by a local board of education. So a board looks at an application and they decide whether or not the charter ought to be granted within their corporate limits or within their school district limits. Metro Nashville Public Schools rejected a charter application. And there was disagreement with that rejection at the department level, to the extent that the Department of Education unilaterally withdrew $3.4 million from Metro Nashville Public Schools. Certainly, it didn't affect us negatively, but it set a precedent that said, if we as a super board of education at the state level don't agree with what you're doing, even if what you're doing is within statute and within policy, we can unilaterally trump that. And I think that's a dreadful way to do business, and I think it's a great, great mistake. Secondly, we've had teachers who have been told in the new evaluation process that their evaluation, a part of their evaluation, will be tied to student performance on a given day. When we think about the number of folks in this community who have professional licensure, most of them have passed some test, have sat for some board, have sat for a bar like you.
Are you talking about teachers?
I'm talking about non-teachers, folks out in the community, be they practitioners of medicine or law or engineers. Most have sat for a board, most have practiced for that, they've studied for that, they've committed their life to that, and some haven't passed on the first go. And when they don't pass, they have a second opportunity.
Yeah.
I find it ironic and somewhat sad that we're not willing to afford that second opportunity to a third grade boy, and instead tell that third grade boy's teacher that based on his performance on that given day in May, your value as a teacher is diminished. I think it's a naive way to look at teacher evaluation. I think it's a naive way to look at professional development.
But is that a question of taking money away or not adding money to the teacher pay?
You know, I think that's independent totally of the discussion of dollars. I really believe that that dialogue is about a bit of naivete that wants to quantify everything based on student performance data. And I think student performance data ought to be a part.
Instantaneously, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Student performance data ought to be a part of what we look at, but it need not be the only thing we look at. If we extend that teacher example, and one of my principals decides that I really need to move this teacher to a particular spot where the students are going to be perhaps in the most challenging environment, where the students need the most help. In the past, we really didn't have a concern about that. But by virtue of the actions of the State Board of Education, if that teacher doesn't have effective enough growth data available based on those test scores, then he or she is not eligible for renewal of licensure.
Well, that really is backwards, because well, you're saying because they put her in a lower performing group, the test scores are going to be less, for which he's penalized, he or she.
Tom, would be likened to the emergency room, where you have the most traumatic events basically leading to the physician not being able to renew the licensure because some of the patients didn't make it through the event.
Okay, but seems to me, in almost any reform discussion, that moving better teachers into the lower performing areas is a desirable. That's the thing that you should be doing.
You're capturing the catch-22 in all of this.
Yeah, so I'd have to agree. That doesn't make sense for the state to.
So those couple of components were the genesis of me writing a letter to the governor and to the members of the General Assembly suggesting that we are pushing too much change too quickly. We are not preparing for a reasonable response on the part of our teachers, and we're going to lose some of our best and brightest teachers lest we exercise some care. Obviously, the big question is, okay, how'd that turn out for you? How's this going to resolve itself? I have nothing but the utmost respect for the governor of this state. The commissioner that he appointed to the Department of Education is a very bright individual, very, very capable, and I believe that we will see an enhanced amount of dialogue. The commissioner and you and I... You
believe it? It should have started by now.
There have been some specific actions underway to enhance that dialogue and that interchange. You learn more and I learn more from folks that I don't necessarily agree with. And I think that what I'm petitioning, what I'm asking is simply, let's open up our ears and listen to some folks that perhaps aren't on the party line, perhaps haven't drunk all the Kool-Aid, but let's see if we can learn to make the process better, because I'm confident that everyone at the table wants to see the same end result, and that's better educated Tennessee students.
I'm sure that's true, and I don't know. I've often pondered with the rate of changes that are taking place, the reform efforts all over the beginning at the Washington level and including the states is really been kind of overwhelming. It's difficult for me to understand how the systems down at the worker level really cope with that, and that sounds like a big part of your problem. Whatever, but as long as we put that out there, the thing that I don't see happening is that seems to me like universally the best schools in the world have the best teachers. They concentrate, that's their reform method, is having the best teachers. The rest of this stuff can go away. And it begins with who's even allowed to enter into the education schools process. Is anything along that line going on in anywhere in the state or national even?
I would love to tell you that we're seeing a better pipeline, and in fact the most recent data suggests that in teacher education programs, entering students have higher SATs than they've had in the past. So we're seeing that beginning to cycle up. One of the things that I have a great concern about is as we looked at the newly adopted state salary schedule, there are components there that would lead many potential teachers to believe that, wait a minute, I'm not really being valued here, so I better look at another spot. And I suggest that one of the big challenges we have with teacher quality is about geography and the fact that there are some communities in this state where education is a priority, where the community is willing to invest in quality programs, and there are other communities that try to get by on a minimal level provided by the state of Tennessee, and there are true challenges associated with that.
Yeah. Well, okay, back to the state dialogue. Are you? What really is your problem, or maybe some of both? Is it just the absence of communication, not being consulted about what's going on, or is it the issues themselves?
Certainly, the issues predicated any dialogue that says you're not listening to what the real problems are for the 1 million students in the state of Tennessee. I believe, that 137 superintendents don't have all the answers, but they can provide assistance, as well as those 1,700 principals that are out there and 53,000 teachers. Those folks have experience, they have a voice that ought to be valued and trusted, and they can truly provide assistance as we work to make the state of Tennessee better.
Well, okay, well, folks, we're need to take a short commercial break, and we'll come back and pick up.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please, for the following public service announcement. He's back! The Watkins Man is back, bringing his world-famous Watkins products to 104 East Lauderdale Street in Tullahoma, where Richard and Stephanie Carpenter have opened the area's only Watkins store. Since 1886, Watkins has produced all-natural products, starting with the pain liniment and now including soaps, oils, creams, scrubs, royal jelly, beeswax, supplements dedicated to natural health and pain management, cover total external and internal body care. And don't forget the world-famous spices, extracts, teas, and cooking ingredients. With too many products to list, know that all Watkins products are 100% natural, using the highest quality ingredients obtainable. Always remember, with Watkins, when you buy the best, you use less.
A salute to the never wasters, the coupon clippers, switch flippers, one last drop of milk drippers, the thoughtfully thrifty, and the just plain cheap. Charter respects your economic IQ and honors it with a phone service worthy of your ever-watchful wallet. Charter Phone, just $19.99 a month. For real monthly savings for fabulously frugal folks like you. Switch to Charter Phone and get unlimited local and long distance and 13 calling features with no extra fees like the phone company charges you.
I'm meteorologist Leland Statham from the News Channel 5 Weather Center. Look to Jim Fuller and crew for local news night here on Channel 6.
Greetings, folks, and we're back today with Dr. Dan Lawson on school issues, of which there always are in plenty supply. And we're talking now about the dialogue that got started with the State Commissioner of Education and the Governor in trying to improve the relationship between them and the local school districts. So we were getting to the point of whether or not your issues really were having to do with communication or whether it's the issue themselves, and you got some of both, I guess. But before we get into that, interestingly, I'd like to, the Commissioner of Education that Governor Haslam brought in has a kind of an interesting background that involves very little exposure to the school operations itself.
Right.
Is that maybe being felt?
Yeah, I think there are probably two issues that are major challenges that he is tasked with overcoming. Mr. Huffman is one of the brightest individuals I've ever been around. Truly, he has a great skill set. He has tremendous capabilities, but his background in public schools is pretty limited. It was primarily at the primary level in Houston, Texas, teaching bilingual education, and then after that a transition to both a limited time working in the law profession and then a more extensive time working with Teach for America in their recruitment program. Once again, very, very bright individual, very, very capable, but in terms of understanding the administration of governance of a school district and the administration of a building, he hasn't had a lot of exposure there. Additionally, understanding the culture of knowing the difference between how Memphis functions and how Mountain City functions is pretty dramatic, because you can't paint with a broad brush in the state of Tennessee and believe that you're effectively communicating with all.
Well, again, one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
Huh? Okay, well, you know, he certainly should be willing to learn. That might be a critical point.
He didn't get where he was today by being ignorant about learning. He's more than capable to learn and succeed and flourish in this.
Okay. What are the couple of issues that that are most contentious at the moment that you're really fussing about?
Yeah, I would suggest that I have a group of teachers, as do most superintendents, who are concerned about both the pace of change and the new change to come. As we're looking at the implementation and adoption of the Common Core state standards, we've got a number of teachers who know that there's going to be a new assessment, and we are taking a change in their licensure and coupling that with a new assessment that's on the way, and many are just scared to death.
Oh, sure.
And truly, my job has become one that is much more likened to a chief morale officer with my teachers, letting them know that we're going to work through this, we're going to enhance your capacity. It's just a formidable task for them to be facing. And in my mind, I have to be there to provide that support for them.
Well, I think rightly so. You know, even switching to the common standards is going to require some difference in the way the schools are operated. So you can't start a new program in that direction and then tie their performance to a pre-existing test score or something. That does seem to be like there's not the right sequencing going on there, which I guess is part of your problem.
Absolutely.
So, okay. Any other issue that you are particularly interested in?
I think a couple of things that need to be very clearly illustrated. This was not a tantamount to a vote of no confidence. This was not a petition asking for removal. This was a letter that I penned expressing concerns, and my hope of that letter is that we establish a more constructive, fruitful dialogue, not with me, but with superintendents across the state, and with principals across the state, and with teachers across the state to implement the outcome that we all hope for.
Okay. All right. Well, we could go on at great length on this, but we want to stop and take a few minutes to introduce you folks to the fact that Dr. Lawson has started the electronic teaching process in Tullahoma with about 300 or so Chromebooks in East Lincoln Elementary. How's it going?
We have East Lincoln Elementary School, which is our most impoverished school in the community. More than 90% of our students are on free and reduced lunch. We put Chromebooks, and many of you have seen Chromebook advertisements on TV, but we put Chromebooks in the hands of every 3rd, 4th, and 5th grader. And we began the process of training them on using those Chromebooks and training them on utilizing textbooks that are cloud-based. In other words, instead of having 4 or 5 textbooks to carry around, every child has the equivalent of a laptop, and every textbook is based in the cloud with them having immediate access to that textbook. One of the concerns we had in our community is, what do we do with those folks who don't have connectivity? So we had a great partnership with the Housing Authority. They have bandwidth, Wi-Fi bandwidth available in each of our subsidized housing developments. We have certainly bandwidth available in the community centers. We have bandwidth available in the library. Bandwidth is available in McDonald's. And each of our schools now stays open until about 5 o'clock every day. So for those who don't have bandwidth at home, we have made that available in any number of places in the community. And what we've seen as a direct result is a level of engagement and excitement. We've seen a level of resources that many kids haven't had available to them in the past. And we've seen them utilizing those Chromebooks for instructional purposes, so we're very, very happy with how that's turned out.
Are they already able to take their Chromebook outside the school?
On a limited basis. We have, what we hope to do was provide a pretty extensive training period. Ironically, we're training both the teachers and the students at the same time with the same protocols. Then we're going to have the students take those home And we found in the past, as we've had checkout libraries, that's really not been an issue with maintenance or support. So we're really looking forward to the Chromebooks being out in the community.
Wow, very good. Well, that's exciting. And you're, we've only got a second or two, but you have a timetable for expanding this?
We are expanding this year to FARA. We don't know if we'll get the same number at FARA. Also, we're looking at a checkout lab at the high school. So we're looking at about 60 units that are coming into the high school, and that'll probably take place in December.
Okay. Well, with that, folks, we need to take another commercial break and wrap up.
Imagine a world with more birthdays. We strive for it every day. We fight to get people the best access to care and the chance for more parties to plan. We're the American Cancer Society. Help create a world with more birthdays at morebirthdays.com.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
We've been talking today, folks, with Dr. Dan Lawson about a couple of issues in the educational area that are of very significant interest to all of you. So, Dr. Lawson, you got a word you want to spread immediately to the audience?
Absolutely. Both of the dialogues we've had today have been about exceptional things that have happened in Tullahoma. While I'm not thrilled about the fact that I had to respond to the governor and respond to the members of the General Assembly with a letter, I'm thrilled with the fact that we've got a community that supports local expectations, local control, and expects me to be on the forefront of that endeavor. At the same time, we've talked about the issue of Chromebooks. This is atypical. Most communities are still talking about the same old textbooks and the same old instructional practice. We don't expect that. We expect to do more, and we're not necessarily doing more with more. We have about the same resources that we've had, but we expect to continue to make great things happen in this community.
And eventually, Chromebooks are going to be in every schoolroom in the city.
Our goal is Chromebooks will be ubiquitous in both our teachers and our students. We're looking forward to that.
Thanks for taking time to join us today.
Always good to be here, sir.
And there are several issues there. We may have to come back in the not too distant future. And folks, we want to thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time.